Hi, this is the second of the catch-up videos. So the next thing that I did was to research how to make and upload a podcast. I then made an intro for it, which if you've listened to it, you'll know is horrifically embarrassing and rubbish. But you know, that's kind of the point, really. I'm just having a go at this. I'm fairly lacking in knowledge and experience of quite a few aspects of what I'm doing at the moment, and that will continue into the future. There are a few things about this business that I kind of know how to do already, but the vast majority I don't. The point of Built from Scratch really is to document that, not to avoid it or sugarcoat it or try and make myself look better or more knowledgeable than I am. So if I do something that's rubbish, I'm going to just leave it out there and tell you about it. So the next thing was and by the way, I mean, like the podcast intro, if I get some money or time or whatever in the future and decide that remaking that is suitably, adequately high priority job at that point, to spend that money or that time doing it, then I will change it. It doesn't have to stay crap forever just because it is now. The point is that's the best I can do at the moment, and I will fully consider upgrading it to something professional in the future if appropriate. So I've said that. No, this is wrong. I'll read it out anyway. I realised that I could get 45 megabits per second from USB tethering of my phone to my desktop. But then, as I've immediately noted, I checked the broadband speed checker just half an hour or so later, and it had gone down to 7 megabits per second. The reason why I bother noting this is because their processing and editing of these videos takes a lot of bandwidth, as well as a reasonably fast computer. And I was searching around for quite a while to try and find a technical solution to handle it, and came to the conclusion that actually using mobile tethering would be a good way of doing it, and got a deal with O2. I don't know if any international listeners will have heard of them, but they're a big mobile company in the UK. And for just 20 quid, so $25 a month, I got 120 gigabytes of data, which I think will be more than enough to do all of the uploading and downloading of videos and podcasts that I need to do. So I thought that was great, and my O2 are my provider anyway, so I know the kind of speeds I get on my phone, and I know that they're good. So that seemed like the perfect solution. And when I realised that you can tether a phone via USB rather than just Wi-Fi, and that appears to be even quicker, I thought I'd completely solved the issue in a very cost-effective way. But it seems that there is in fact some throttling of speeds when you use your phone. I don't know if it's because it recognises that you're tethering and throttles it, or if it just realises that you're handling some big files and does so, or possibly that's not even what's going on. It's just maybe mobile broadband is a bit up and down. But I did actually set up some automated speed testing that day, which ran for about 4 hours, tested it a handful of times, and it never changed from 7 megabits per second after that initial very high reading, which makes you think something a bit dodgy is going on. And I say dodgy because I did spend a bit of time researching my options, and in so doing read the O2 terms and conditions, in which it is stated that tethering is fine and that it's essentially unlimited. They have a fair usage policy around it, but the figures for it were enormous. I think it was something like 650 gigabytes a month for 2 months in a row would be the limit above which they would get in touch given that you might have at that point abused their fair usage policy. But there was no mention of throttling, and like I said, I'm on a 120 gigabyte cap anyway, so I'm not coming anywhere near those terms. So I don't know what's going on there. It's very annoying, but even if it does just run at around 7 megabits a second, when it's off doing its laptop processing job, it's still fast enough. It will do the job, so I guess that's okay. So the next thing I did was to download Audacity, which is a fairly well-known open source and therefore free audio processing piece of software. I said that I did that in the hope that there will be a quick way to strip background noise out of these recordings when I try and turn them into just audio recordings for podcasts. And an easy way to add the intro. And then I specified that I don't want to spend more than a couple of minutes on these processes, which would certainly be correct. That's the kind of time that could make this whole project fairly unfeasible if they took a while to do. But it turns out you definitely can do that kind of thing quite quickly once you've got the files already set up. However, I've then written Audacity couldn't handle AAC file types, and I wasted some time trying to import a library that would have allowed it to handle them. I then realised I could import a WAV file. I'm going to pronounce it WAV, possibly WAV, W-A-V, whatever. I'm going to call it WAV. So I had to set up a WAV profile in VLC, which is the media player that I use, and is also the software that I use to create the audio files from the video files, that is. So that took a few minutes, but then that worked. So I was able to use VLC to create WAV files from these video files, and I was then able to process those WAV files in Audacity. It turns out that Audacity is really quite good at simple noise reduction. It took me a while to figure out how to do it, but once I had, it takes just a few seconds to do, and it does a great job of on the audio file where you see the flat bits in between the peaks, which are the short bits of silence between words and sentences. There is a significant bit of white noise, which is, it wouldn't surprise me if it was possible to change the settings on this camera or microphone to get rid of that at this point of recording it, but I have spent a bit of time researching my microphone and the camera and how to do it, and it looked a little bit complicated. And now that I know, bearing in mind I've got to use Audacity to add the intro, so I can't avoid using it completely, and since I'm going to be in there anyway, the amount of time it's going to take to do the noise reduction is just a matter of seconds per production. So I think it actually makes more sense to just do that small task repeatedly rather than to invest the time in figuring out how to get rid of the background noise in the first place. So we did that, and I then wrote the podcast file is complete at 30 minutes long. Oh, so I think this must have been working on the podcast file for the intro, which would make sense given it was the first time that I was doing it. At 30 minutes long, it comes in at 22 megabytes when saved as a mono MP3. So this plan should allow around 24 minutes per working day. I think that comment might be chronologically out of order. Weirdly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I must have shifted that, because that relates to, I'm almost certain, the podcast hosting plan that I signed up to. So let me just stick that in there, and I'll probably just repeat that in a few minutes. Yeah, sorry about that, that was weird. So after noting that Audacity is good at simple noise reduction, the actual next comment is that I researched how to upload a podcast. And it turns out you need separate hosting. So I didn't know this before. I guess I knew that I was going to need some kind of hosting, but I have hosting for my website, and I figured that may well be good enough. However, I think what I was thinking was, I'm aware of the fact that you can't use normal, fairly cheap website hosting to host videos on your website because the files are too big, the download bandwidth demands, if you get any kind of viewership of your website, are going to be too great, and it's just not what you've paid for. If you're paying a few dollars a month, you can't expect too much. What I hadn't quite put two and two together about is that audio files are fairly sizable too, and again, it wouldn't really take that many people trying to download them before the bandwidth required versus that you need just to download a text and graphical web page would be, hundreds, thousands of times more. So it turns out you do need separate hosting. I saw a couple of products called Libsyn and Blueberry recommended by a couple of what I consider to be reliable sources. I also saw something called Buzzsprout being recommended. However, that was by mostly affiliate sites, which were a little rougher looking around the edges, or a little more desperate to try and convince the reader in a biased way that Buzzsprout was the place to go. I did go and check it out, nevertheless, because in fairness, often what affiliates are selling is worth buying, but decided that it is a bit, whilst it definitely looks like it competes with those other two options in terms of price and quality, it's I think less flexible in terms of how much you can upload to it per dollar that you spend on their different plans. I got the impression it's designed for people who are very non-technical, to the point where they won't even know to or bother to optimize the size of their files, and that is because what made me draw that conclusion is that their plans are based on hours per month that you upload rather than megabytes per month. So it probably is quite a good product, in fairness, Buzzsprout. If you want to set up a podcast, really are not technical, don't want to get involved in that kind of stuff, and just know that you want to do X hours per month of podcasting, you can chuck any old file up to them. I guess they probably do some optimizing for their own purposes behind the scenes, but in terms of your limits per amount of money that you spend, that won't be affected. So I'm not like that though. I'm not particularly technically knowledgeable, but I'm perfectly happy to hack my way through a few bits and pieces. So I ended up signing up for something called Libsyn for $20 a month for 400 megabytes worth of upload per month. That amount gets reset each month, and they just sort of took your old recordings away. They are still available for download, but you get a new monthly amount of uploads. So that's the same as Buzzsprout in terms of that, you get to upload a certain amount per month, new every month, and the old ones get kept. Can I do the maths here quickly enough? So this is the bit where I had written out before, where I've noted that for the intro podcast file, which was 30 minutes long, I saved it as a mono MP3, which is kind of like a a slightly optimized way of saving it to retain reasonable sound quality, but reduce the size of the file a bit, and it came in at 22 megabytes, which is why I've said it should allow for around 24 minutes per working day, because I signed up for the 400 megabyte Libsyn deal and divided that by the megabytes per minute that I seem to be getting based on that introductory video, and decided that was going to give me those 24 minutes per working day, which should be more than enough. I know I keep saying this so far, but these videos, and I'm not actually doing it, but these videos really should be fairly short when I actually get past this point of desperately hacking my way through new things and just get stuck into writing a bit of content. Yeah, but the Buzzsprout thing, if I'd have paid the same amount, I'm just trying to remember, I think they had a plan for $24 a month, so $4 more than I've paid here, which was for, was it 12 hours? It doesn't matter really, anyway, I might be remembering that wrong. It's $24 for something that at the megabytes per minute that I'm achieving would have been a significantly worse deal. Okay, that's all I need to say. Right, I'm going to stop that video there and make the next one again immediately. I think it might be the last one out of these catch-ups, but we'll find out in the next quarter of an hour or so.